Maurice Nicole's Psychological Commentaries, Volume 3, based on Nicole's work with Gurdjieff, Ouspensky, and Jung. Dugli, September 22, 1945. The second line of work, video 3 of 3. Now, when you seek to make relationship with someone else, you have to create a person by seeing him or her distinctly. Most people have fixed ideas, not about the kind of person they like, but about what people are like. These ideas are practically always wrong and are seen to be so eventually in the work. They are probably based on what we have been taught or have read about in novels. You cannot take a person simply as your opinion of him or her, nor can you take a person merely as what he is in life or reputed to be. To make relationship with a person, you have to see the person differently from the way you would see him or her in life. You have never undermined, if you have never undermined yourself and your own opinion of yourself, you will never be able to do this. You will simply accept people at their face value, and you will only wish to know people who have the same buffers and the same attitudes as you have, as I've said before. So you will never move, you will never shift from where you are. That is, you will never change. But the work is about self-change. The second point that I would like to speak about tonight in regard to relationships toward others is that not only are other people machines as you are yourself, but they are not one person. Another person is many persons, nice and unpleasant, intelligent and stupid. To take another person as one unvarying I does him or her great harm. But again, the real question is, have you yet seen that you are many different persons and that you are not one permanent person, but a mixture of different eyes who act through you at different moments? You may not be able to see changes in people. You may be able to see that he or she is in a good mood today, but have seen the same thing in yourself and not taken it as one person changing, but as changing persons in you. How strange is this form of egotism that seems to dominate us, that makes us think that we ourselves are always one and the same person. You will notice that both the realization of our mechanicalness and the realization that we are not one, but many different eyes strikes at our egotism and self-love. Through self-love, we attribute everything to ourselves. That is, why we are taught in esotericism, especially in the Gospels, that the only cure for self-love is love of God. This means that we gradually come to the conclusion that we do nothing ourselves and that everything in us comes from some other source. Sometimes I say to you, how do you move your body? How do you think? You cannot give an answer. And yet everything you do, you ascribe to yourself. You even ascribe love to yourself, perhaps one of the worst sins. The point is that the work teaches that we are recipient organisms, that we receive everything and that we can do nothing ourselves, neither think, love, nor anything else. In attributing to ourselves the existence of a real permanent I, we not only do enormous harm to ourselves, but we do enormous harm to other people in taking them to be one permanent I, one permanent person. The third point in relating ourselves to others depends on the science of external impressions. We do not notice how we behave and so often give a quite wrong impression to other people. We may have difficulty in expressing ourselves. We may have some feature that refuses to give to others or that makes us not say quite enough for the other person to understand what we mean. We may be jealous and not notice that we express it the whole time. We may be negative and show it in intonation and so on, and yet we may be surprised that other people do not seem to care for us. The science of external impressions is a subject that we have only talked about once or twice before, and that we will talk about later on. It means acting towards another person in such a way that the other person can understand you. It requires a conscious attitude towards other people, which are at present scarcely capable of having. As a rule, we are extremely clumsy with one another. I think you will admit this. We make a wrong impression on someone without knowing it. That is because we do not know ourselves enough through self-observation and therefore do not know about the other person internally. We do not know how to get to a person and think about a frontal attack, so to speak, is good enough. Of course, that will only increase second force, and here comes in that part of the work that deals with 4 categories of behavior: foolish sincerity, foolish insincerity, clever sincerity, and clever insincerity. In our relationship with one another, these 4 categories of behavior are important to study in connection with the science of external impressions. Foolish sincerity is the most mechanical and stupid thing as regards relationships with one another. People call it telling the truth. It is better to use foolish insincerity. This may surprise you, but in our relationships with others, we must above all things avoid foolish sincerity, where a person blurts out something that may poison another person's soul and do infinite harm. Relationships with one another demands a great deal of attention, as, for example, stopping negative emotions at once. As we cannot talk about behaving consciously in one another or to one another because we are not conscious men or women yet. But we can try to practice what conscious behavior means and live more consciously every day. I say live more consciously every day on purpose. You can live more consciously every day if you understand what the work teaches you to avoid. If you will follow the work in your behavior, you will feel something happening to you because the work is a lever to lift you up to another level, and immediately you apply it to yourself. That is, sound the second note, re, in the work octave, and you will feel yourself lifted up.